President Cyril Ramaphosa's recent visit to the United States has brought international attention to the issue of gang violence in the Western Cape. In response, Premier Alan Winde has reiterated the urgent need for enhanced policing resources within the province. Meanwhile, the Democratic Alliance in the Western Cape has rejected comments made by the businessman Johan Rupert during the discussions at the Oval Office, in which he expressed concerns regarding the crime levels in the province. Addressing the latest crime statistics, Premier Alan Winde cited a consistent decline in the province's murder rate. He now joins us to provide further insights into these developments. A very good morning to you, Premier. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Let's start off first with reflections on the crime statistics that were released last week and how you'd link that to the remarks that have been made by Johan Rupert.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, we have a program in the province where we are really trying to, help the police, but at the same time, that program is to show national government that we need to tackle policing differently. We actually need to tackle the full crime system very differently. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, year after year, and expect to get major changes. We've got to police differently and more modern ways of policing. So we've got a program where we kind of go into certain specific areas to try and reduce the murder rate. From a policing point of view and a violence prevention point of view. And we've seen now for the last 3 quarters, we've just seen a 4% decline in murder. That was in quarter 4, in quarter 3, 7.9% decline, and in quarter 2, 8.7% decline. I mean, we have way too few police officers. We don't have in the province any management capability or responsibility of policing. It's all sits at a national level, and that's what we've been talking about for a very long time, to say we need a new system and devolution of policing powers. And of course, what Johan Rupert said while in Washington, saying, the Western Cape is responsible. It's not true. The police and the criminal justice system all sits at a national level. We are not responsible, although we do put these programs in place specifically to show national government that when you put these programs in place using data and technology, using different deployment methods and doubling up in certain areas, you can start to bring the murder rate down, because it is just unbelievably high and it is unacceptable. And so obviously pointing out that gang violence is really high in the Western Cape is absolutely right, pointed out, but pointed to the right person or the right level of government. In the meantime, hopefully this does spark a good discussion between national government and provincial government and city government to say we need to bring about a different form of policing. Yep. And we use international best practice. Even the president did refer to the President Trump to say, but we use technology, and then he referred to spot-shotter technology, which is used in the city of Cape Town. So there was also a bit of an irony in the whole Washington meeting. But at the end of the day, we've got to get back to an MOU. We've got to look at the regulation and the legislation, and we've got to look at deployment of police officers. We've probably got 10,000 police officers too few in the Western Cape if you look at police to population ratios. And of course, we need to do it differently. We can't do the same thing over and over again and expect different outcomes.
Yeah. Is it then the Western Cape government's argument that because policing is a national competency, it can't necessarily take responsibility for the high levels of violent crime in the Western Cape, and specifically the gang-related violence and murder in the province? And I also asked this on the basis of a call that had previously been made by the province, and this was also just before your leadership, your administration took over, Premier Alan Winde, and that was the call that had been made for the deployment of soldiers in gang-ridden areas, and that deployment did happen. But what we saw from that, it didn't necessarily deal with this issue of stemming up gang-related violence.
So, I mean, that you're now going back quite a few years as I was coming into power, because we need more officers on the ground. And I thought that would be a multiplier effect. I think we've seen that military and policing are 2 very different things. And that formed what we call our safety plan. It's a partnership between the city and the province. And it really says, how do we deploy differently? How do we use technology? How do we use data and evidence? What can we bring in? Like the city's brought in this a program called ShotSpotter. We've got eye in the sky technology, drone technology. We are deploying according to data and not 9 to 5. But the biggest problem is, and let's just narrow it right down to basic policing. So if you look at police to population ratios, you will see that the police to population ratios in these highest crime areas, that's where we've got well in excess of 1,000 people to and a police officer, when the norm around the country is 500 to a police officer. That can change at the stroke of a pen. And even that basic policing doesn't change at a national level. They can change it today, within hours. We also note that every time we put extra resources in, the natural phenomenon is for police to say, well, then we're going to remove our officers because you're putting in extra resources. And I'm saying, no, this is to show you that you put the extra resources in, number one, you back it up with data and evidence, and then you make sure the criminal justice system works. So you'll hear the city always talking about how do we make sure we get the investigations happening, because we also know we don't get the convictions that we are supposed to be getting. The criminal justice system itself needs to be re-looked at. We need to look at what levers provinces and cities can have. I mean, we all want the same thing, but we can't keep doing a system or keep running a system that is not being effective. And I mean, we're looking at numbers in the Western Cape, but let's look at murder numbers across South Africa. I mean, that is crazily high, highest in the world. We have to do something else in this country of ours. And we are putting forward what we think is workable solutions based on international best practice, based on partnerships that we've built up with our foreign partners, and putting measurement tools in place and saying to the police, this is what we are advocating. And we will keep driving it. We were very encouraged just after the election, just less than a year ago, with an MOU between national government, provincial government, and city government, saying this is, and we've got a whole range of areas, of which one is legislation and regulation, and how do we and whose responsibility is it? We're very happy to take on responsibility. Give us responsibility, the budget, and let's go and show the difference. Let's test it. Let's try it. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again with so many of our citizens who face absolute horrendous crime levels every single day.
Just quickly, apart from the debate around Starlink and whether legislatively so, they should be allowed to operate in the country. What do you make of Johan Rupert's assertion during that meeting as well, that we should see Starlink being deployed to various police stations, considering the argument that you just made now around the use of technology? Do you think that that's an answer?
So, I mean, I don't necessarily say it must be Starlink, but we do need to have better technology and better connectivity. There's no doubt about that at all. And especially in our rural areas, deep rural areas where they don't have connectivity, but even in the policing system in our cities. Go and have a look at the discussions that happen at the Police Oversight Committee when radios don't work. We need to modernize, and of course, we need to use satellite technologies. We need to use drones, eye in the sky, any kind of technology that's going to help us bring down crime levels. Facial recognition. It's absolutely critical that we start to use, these kinds of technology to fight crime. We can't, pretend that they don't work. Of course they work. And whatever that system is, whether it is enabling a Starlink, then we must enable it. Whether it is using our current broadband bases, we've got to empower our police officers. Sometimes we hear that their radios don't even work. They've got to use their own cell phones to communicate. I mean, that is totally unacceptable. So we need to overlay our police officers with the technology that they need in order to fight crime. And I mean, this has got to be a major focus in this country.
Thank you so much for your time. Alan Winde is the Premier of the Western Cape.